Emma and I have been in a relationship for the past 2 years, and that was actually 4 months ago today. My life began to take a positive turn at that time when I realized it was possible to have hope. But I discovered a dreadful reality that rocked me to my very core. My hope had been a lie. Emma had been cheating on me with her ex for months. I had to accept that my world had been turned upside down and that I had to start over. I was filled with fury and rage. I was determined to get even with Emma and make her realize what she had done to me. I was going to make her pay with God by our side. We can conquer any obstacle. It's Him who gives us confidence and strength. Whenever we rely on God for direction and guidance, we get access to endless power. So let's not let our difficulties deter or dishearten us. Rather, let's embrace the knowledge that Christ gives us the strength to overcome obstacles and achieve incredible things. Before we continue with the story, please click the bell button and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any future revenge stories. It was at a concert that we first spoke to one another. Emma was dancing and having a good time there. My attention was drawn to her and I found myself becoming mesmerized by her. Because of her stunning appearance and the way she looks at me, we started talking and I was captivated by her intelligence and wit. Before I knew it, we exchanged numbers. When we first started getting along and had a good time that evening, I was feeling a little awkward around her friends. However, it's possible that she became interested in me as well, and when that happened, she probably informed her friends that she needed to spend some time with me. It slipped by too quickly, but I was content with whatever resulted from it. Following the show, we decided to go for a stroll, and this is where our friendship of a more informal nature began. We talked about our interests, our backgrounds, and our dreams. I found myself wanting to know more and more about her. Soon I felt a connection developing between us. We felt a strong bond, as if our friendship was meant to be. We soon realized that our paths were meant to cross, and we were meant to be lovers. In point of fact, we were able to show our true selves to one another in just a few months. From then on, we were inseparable. We shared our hopes and fears. We made a promise to stay together forever, and our relationship has been strengthened over the years. We celebrated our love, and it has been a blessing. After a period of 2 years together, we came to the conclusion that we would get married. We could not be happier, and we look forward to a lifetime of joy and love. We are grateful for all the special moments we have shared and for the strength of our bond. We cannot wait to take the next step in our journey together. We chose to get engaged. We are excited for our future together, and we are confident that our love will continue to grow. We are already planning our wedding and looking forward to be the special day when we can finally say, "I do." I was experiencing a number of Emma's unusual activities at a time. For example, she lied to me about a trip she took with some of her friends. In point of fact, those days were summertime. Therefore, I proposed that we both go to the beach and have some fun. I inquired about it, but she responded that she already had plans with her pals. I was aware of all of her friends and, in general, she was close to only 3 people. After that, the thought occurred to me that I ought to furthermore spend some time with my pals. Therefore, I decided to fly to the beach. Her friends was there, Anna and Ashley lived, and after meeting them there, I asked where her other friend Emma. Emma told me that she was going with her friends, so it came as quite a shock to me when she turned out to be absent from their group. That took me by surprise when I discovered it. After something unexpected happened, I had the feeling that I should call her. The call went unanswered on her end. I was concerned about how she was doing. I was thinking that I ought to go to her residence in order to inquire about what was taking place. When I arrived at her house, though, her mother informed me that she had already left for a friend. I inquired with her as to whether or not she went with a new acquaintance. I inquired about her brand new friend. She stated that she had never seen that boy before either. It seemed to me that I ought to wait for her at her house. Within an hour, she was back at the house. The first question I asked her was with whom she was traveling. She gave off an anxious appearance. I inquired of her once more. I let her know that I was aware of the fact that she was not present with Anna and Ashley. On the couch close to us was her mother, who was seated there. She glanced at her once and remarked that it was her classmate from years ago. After waiting for such a long time, he finally arrived to meet her. I followed up by asking her why she had initially stated that they had plans with her pals. She stated that it is true that I made plans with them. However, since he suddenly arrived, I have to cancel those plans. My agenda was regard to them. I questioned her on why she didn't recognize that acquaintance of mine. She claimed that he had been a friend of hers since childhood. I have no idea, but I do know that she was very good at manipulating any circumstances in line. She tells lies as if they were the truth. In any case, I put my faith in her. Nevertheless, the problem persisted to be on my mind. If it had been a few days later, I met her at a dinner. It had been a very long time since she was glued to her mobile device the entire time. That day she had a nervous disposition. I inquired of her about what had occurred. I asked her again what was going on with her, but she did not give me an adequate response. I said, "We are here for each other, yet you are always on your phone. Show me what's so crucial that it has been to be on your mobile phone. I am quite curious about this." She assured me that it was nothing and offered her apologies to me. Then after dinner, she was rushing to get back to her house. She brought it to my attention twice that we needed to get home as quickly as humanly feasible. She mentioned that her mother's health had been declining recently. I found myself standing outside of her house. I assured her that I would also visit her mother and informed her that I would come in. But she denied it and stated that there was no requirement for it. I asked her what the problem was. She'll be my future mother-in-law after all. I also want to look out for her. Again, she emphasized that there is no requirement to do so because the issue is inherent. She was experiencing symptoms of menopause. I was taken aback and not sure how to respond. I didn't want to upset her or make her feel uncomfortable in any way, so I simply tried to assure her that I understood her situation. I chose not to argue and instead went back to my house. After a week, her mother came to visit, and I questioned her about how she was feeling overall. However, she seemed perplexed as to why I was questioning her. I told her Emma had informed me that your health was not in excellent shape, so I shared that information with her. Emma shared some news with me while we were out to supper. "Because you are not feeling well," she said, "let's get back to the house as soon as we can." After I had dropped her off, I headed back to my place. She was surprised to learn all of this information. She claimed that she had not even been at her house. At Wednesday night, she spent 3 days at her sister's residence, and Emma was by herself in the house. She stated that she would inquire with Emma about the reasons behind saying all of these things to you. I had the impression that she was trying to conceal something from me or was outright lying to me. I had the idea that I ought to ask her, so I went to meet up with her and confront her, where she was already dressed in something suggestive. And just as I was getting ready to ask her, she immediately began engaging in an activity with me. And then we had a bedtime, and it's pretty evident that I neglected to ask her. Perhaps she was trying to divert my attention with that statement. When I was going to leave after some time, my pants were scattered all over the floor. I was on the verge of picking my pants. I came across an empty packet of condoms. That took me by surprise when I saw it. I asked her why is there used packets of condom, which I had picked up, rather than going through my own pants. She said that her friend had brought her boyfriend with her, since her friend's parents are very traditional, and that's the reason why her friend had brought her boyfriend with her. I confronted her with the question, how could you possibly allow her to use our bed? She claimed that she had forewarned her that this would be the final visit to her home and that she didn't allow her again. She expressed her apology to me. I said it was okay, but at this moment my mind was uncertain. It occurred to me that either I was missing something obvious that was incorrect or that Emma was concealing something. One day I confronted her with the question, "Does she still love me?" I asked her about her strange behavior and informed her that I no longer feel any attraction to her at all. Because this was all the case, there was not the slightest bit of an effect on her. She just said, "It's okay, you can take your time." I brought to her attention the fact that I did not engage in all of these activities on purpose. I also told her that the reason I am not feeling well is because of her. She received a call out of the blue and told me that things like that happen sometimes and that it's only natural. It was now very clear to me that something was amiss. The time for our wedding was drawing nearer, but my heart did not feel fulfilled by any of her activities up to that point. My first thought was that I needed to figure out what it was that she was doing. I decided to sneak around and watch her. I set up a few spy cameras. It was nothing out of the ordinary for me to go into her bedroom. I decided to call her up one day when I saw she was going out shopping because I thought it would be a nice opportunity for me. Therefore, I traveled to her residence. Because her mother is typically absent from the household, this was an exception. Because her sister was ill and needed treatment, her mother left the house to go to her sister's place. Therefore, I traveled to her residence. Fortunately for me, I was aware that they had previously concealed one key in the wall where there was a narrow opening. I entered the house, used the key, and made my way to her bedroom. I activated the hidden cameras in her room, and when I walked out, my plan was to surprise her by catching her in the act of cheating on me. It had only been a few days since we were getting closer and closer to our wedding date. On a daily basis, I was looking over the records. In addition to that, I was following her every move. I did not observe any of her activities. In addition to that, she was only seeing her body, going shopping or doing some other activity, nothing else. At this point, I began to get the idea that perhaps I had misjudged her. For a cautious period of 2 times, I was unable to find any leads. In addition, we only had 3 days to organize our wedding. Then after some consideration, I came at the conclusion that I ought to remove those cameras from her bedroom, because I just had proven myself to be a fool by supposing that I was in error when I questioned her credibility. 3 nights before, I spent the night removing the recording files from my laptop, and I noticed that one file had not been reviewed. The recording had been there for 1 week. In this clip, which was taken at 2:48 a.m. the night before, it shows her being filmed in bed with another man. I recall that it was the recording of that night. It was late at night when I was with her. After I dropped her off at her house, after I got home, I went straight to the bed. Because I was frozen solid, I am unable to move for the time being. After a few moments, I let out a loud and terrifying scream. My heart was shattered in the worst possible way. I was so eager to confront her that I hurried over her to her house. I was driving along all of a sudden when I pulled over and let out a few sobs. After that, I questioned to myself why I was crying. She owes herself an apology for what she has done. Therefore, I reasoned that I should expose her dishonesty in front of everyone. Despite this, I was having a hard time accepting the fact that I was going to marry such a whore. In any case, I came to a conclusion. After a peaceful trip home, I immediately started making arrangements for our wedding the following day. The day of the wedding had finally arrived. It was a ceremony in which each and every friend and relatives was invited to take part. The time has come for both of us to stand before church fathers at the same time. Father asked me whether or not I should accept as my wife Emma. I laughed loudly. My laughing seemed to stun everyone else around me. Father inquired of me once more. I told her that there was no way I could marry her. I stated that I had something to offer each and every one of you. I aired the video of that night that she was being pounded by the person with whom she was having an affair. I'll never forget the look of guilt on her face that day. Everyone began to criticize and insult her. I burst out laughing as I went away. I think it was enough of a playback for me to ensure that she'll never have a deal with anyone else. I also given a second opportunity to continue living my life. I consider that to have been an opportunity to initiate a fresh phase in one's life. I promised myself that I would never forget that lesson. I have since tried to forgive and forget and move on with my life. I've learned that there is always a second chance to make things right.